want to also do some farming and you clear the bush by setting it on fire, what effect does it have on the ecosystem? It pollutes the atmosphere with smoke. You find smoke all around. You can't even do some activities. You can't stay around because the atmosphere is polluted and it might be harmful to the lungs. Another thing is that it kills useful microorganisms, thereby reducing the fertility. Useful microorganisms, the fire will have destroyed them. So bush burning is harmful. In another sense, that it exposes the soil also to erosion. Then it brings about growth of different set of plants because you have burned the set of plants that were there before. The next plants that will go will be of a different set compared to what you had earlier. Then bush burning also reduces the water holding capacity of the soil and increases the porosity of the soil. Another effect is that the food chain is destroyed, leading to extinction of organisms. Some organisms, you discover that you don't find them. For instance, there is a bird that is called dodo bird. Is no longer in existence. It has gone into extinction. So, and one of the reasons, bush burning might have been one of the reasons that this bird has gone into extinction. So, when you keep burning the bush, you destroy some animals, some microorganisms, some plants, and you may not find their type again because it's not being reproduced. Another thing is that seed of most plants, especially trees, are destroyed before establishment. Before anything gets established on the tree and set fire, you destroy the seed of those plants. The another thing is that ash produced, the ash, that is after burning that you find ash being produced at the site of burning. The ash gives the soil a slightly alkaline nature, that is, it reduces the pH of the soil, the ash that is produced from burning the soil. So it has affected the soil, affected the organism, and affected so many other things on that land. The next agricultural activity we'll be considering is tillage. When you till a soil, the soil is loosened and the plant's roots is affected. Another thing is that there is increase in the water absorption capacity of the soil. The soil can absorb more soil because the soil is now loose, so more water can be absorbed by the soil. Another thing is that a tilled soil decreases the disease-causing potential of microorganisms. The capacity of microorganisms to produce diseases to the soil is reduced. And over-tilled soil may become dry and powdery, which is harmful now. Then the top of the soil that is tilled is easily blown away by a strong wind that may eventually lead to erosion of that soil. Another activity, farming activity now that we'll be considering is fertilizer application. You know, fertilizer application is good to the soil. The soil is, by the time you keep planting and planting and planting year in, year out, the nutrients of the soil keeps reducing. So applying fertilizer improves the fertility of the soil, thereby improving your yield. But when you don't fertilize the soil nutrients are being depleted. Then excessive use of chemicals on the soil might bring about the following. One, a loss of humus. I said humus is very, very important to fertility of the soil. Then excess phosphate. You know, most of the fertilizers that we apply has phosphates in them. So excess phosphates in the soil can be washed into water bodies, which may lead to pollution. You have other organisms in the water body. You have the fishes and the other aquatic animals there, so it might pollute them. When you apply too much fertilizer and excess phosphate is being washed when rain falls into the water body, then the soil structure might be deteriorated when there is excessive use of chemical. Then the porosity of the soil increases when you add excessive fertilizer, and it's not good for the plants. Herbicide or pesticide application. Now, when there are pests on the farm, you want to control pests that are destroying the yield and the health of the plant. When pests invade your plant, they reduces the yield, then they make the plant sick looking because they affect them all around. So by the time you are trying to prevent the pests or the weeds that are on the farm, you know, sometimes you apply chemicals to kill weeds, or you apply chemicals to kill some causative organisms of some diseases. One, you are adding pollution. Pollution sets in. That is, the environment becomes unconducive by adding chemicals. The air is polluted, then the soil is also polluted. Then you can also kill harmful organisms in the process of trying to control weed or control pests. Useful microorganisms can be destroyed in the soil. Then toxic compounds becomes accumulated in the soil. When you add chemical, then this toxic material is also washed into the water body. So you can see the harm that has been done by applying chemicals, especially herbicide, pesticide, and sometimes fertilizer. When a soil is being overgrazed, the grasses and shrubs do not grow normally. What is overgrazing? You know, I said farming is not all about planting. It involves rearing of animals too. We have the nomadic farmers, the Fulanis of Nigeria, taking their flocks, their cattle from one place to another. So by the time you bring a group of animals to feed on this land, and feed on it, and feed on it, and feed on it again, you discover that that land, that same farmland will not be the same, because it will not grow at the same rate as it should grow. Because by the time it grows a little, the animals come to feed on it. So the grasses and shrubs of places that have been overgrazed do not grow normally. Then you change the composition of that community. The plants composition, you don't have enough plants. Then some plants go into extinction for that land because they have been eaten and overeaten. Then sometimes erosion sets in. When you overgraze a particular land, then you don't have plants again. They go away. So the land is bare. So erosion can set in. The vegetation is removed. Then the sun quickly dries out because it's exposed to the sun directly. Now there are no plants covering the soil. So the soil easily and quickly dries out. Then another ecological activity that may be of harmful effect or that may affect the ecosystem is the farming method. When there are substandard farming methods that are being used, then it affects the ecosystem. So standard farming methods like crop rotation, shifting cultivation might lead to loss of fertility. I will explain that further as we go on in the class. Then continuous cropping in one area. You take a particular crop, you plant cassava this season, you plant cassava next season, you keep using that same land for different types of cropping. That's continuous cropping. You keep planting and planting and planting without giving the land rest. It will reduce the nutrient content of the soil. Then monocropping, that is planting just one type of plant on a particular land. It reduces the food and the population of other animals whose natural food is not available. By the time you keep planting rice and planting rice and planting rice, there are some crops there are some plants that stays around rice, and there are some plants that you don't find around rice. So you have cut off some plants, whereby you have introduced another type of plant in that area. So now we'll be moving on to the types of farming. The various types of farming methods that we have include crop rotation, shifting cultivation, mixed farming, pastoral farming, and strip cropping. So we'll be talking about these various farming methods and what happens in them. Crop rotation is a system of farming whereby different crops are planted on the same piece of land in successive seasons to maintain soil fertility. You plant different crops. You get a plot of land, then you plant different crops at each portion of the land to maintain. Then you exchange, you rotate it. That's the rotation that comes, you rotate the plant. You plant maize here, so the next season you plant groundnut, you plant rice, you plant cassava. So when you rotate it, that's what we call crop rotation. Then a part of the farm is given a period of rest to fallow under grass or legumes. So you allow the land, a particular part of the farm, to rest while others are working. So that part can be replenished of the nutrient that has been lost. Then deep feeders are planted along with surface feeders. That is, plants that get deep into the soil are called deep feeders. That is, their roots get deep down into the soil. They are planted alongside the plants that their roots don't really get into the soil, so that there won't be excessive loss of nutrients. So there will be a kind of balance. Deep feeders include yam. The tubers of yam go deep into the soil. Then okra, cotton, those are examples of deep feeders. Then we have surface feeders, including maize, your groundnut, cowpea, guinea corn, onion, groundnut. So when you mix them, there is a balance of nutrients loss and replenishment in the soil. This is a typical example of crop rotation plan for 4 years on 4 plots. You are planting for 4 years. You have cassava.